Greetings, Japan fans! In today's show, we're going to look at how to go back to the workplace safely. Maishu, arigatou gozaimasu, and welcome back to the Leadership Japan series. And I'm your host in Tokyo, Dr. Greg Story, your corporate coaching and training guy, the president of Dale Carnegie Training Japan, the best-selling author, Japan Sales Mastery and Japan Business Mastery. We are broadcasting around the world from Minato-ku in the center of Tokyo, the leadership capital of Japan. Now, this podcast brings insights, examples, and experience about leading in Japan, and trust me, it is different here. If you have feedback on the show or preferences about potential future topics, then leave us your comments. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share this podcast. Here is our daily podcast lineup on iTunes. Mondays, the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. Tuesdays, the Presentations Japan series. Wednesdays, the Sales Japan series. Thursdays, this one, the Leadership Japan series. Fridays, the Japan Business Mastery Show. And my new show on Saturdays, Japan's Top Business Interviews. Before we get going, our handy Japanese phrase for today is shiteru. This is for if you want to ask someone, do they know something? Do they know about something? Then it might be, do you know this restaurant, or you know about this movie, or about this show, or whatever. You can, very informal, you just say shiteru, shiteru, shiteru. Again, this is extremely informal, casual Japanese you'd only use with your friends. You would never use this with a client. If you were asking a client whether they knew about something, you would say something totally different, like gozonji desu ka? Gozonji desu ka? Or gozonji de gozaimasu ka? Something like that, much more formal. This between friends though, shiteru, shiteru, shiteru. Do you know about this? Shiteru. Shiteru, shiteru. Now this is episode number 364, which brings up the 7th year of this podcast. When I started 7 years ago, I had been writing blogs. They were being published in major chamber journals here in Tokyo, like Eurobiz, Acumen, American Chamber Journal, this type of thing. I was putting them up on social media. And I was basically writing on 4 subjects: communication, sales, presentations, leadership, that type of thing. So I had been writing these blogs, and the then editor of the American Chamber Journal, a gentleman called Roberto DeVito, said to me, "Hey, Greg, why don't you create a podcast?" Now, 7 years ago, podcasts weren't that common. And podcasts have sort of become common, sort of kicked off, and then sort of died away for a while. So I'd sort of forgotten about podcasts. And I'm sort of remembering, podcast, what's a podcast again? And so, taking his advice, I had this really tinny, crappy headset that I was using for a microphone. And I use GarageBand on my iMac here to do the recordings and the editing, etc. So we started off, and I would sort of cover all those 4 subjects. And, well, at some point, a little over, 3 years ago, so I'd sort of been doing the show for about 4 years, I got the genius idea that I had heard this somewhere, that you should niche down. So I decided to break off, and instead of having one podcast that covered all of those areas, to have one just on leadership, and formed 2 new podcasts, which became the Sales Japan series and the Presentation Japan series. So then I continued with the leadership one, and I never imagined that I'd still be talking about leadership for 7 years. You think about that. I do a weekly podcast. That's 52 a year. We don't take any weeks off. So I have to come up with 52 topics a year on leading in Japan and just keep doing that for 7 years. Not that easy. So here we are. We're 7 years later, and we've built up a following all around the world. People from all different countries listen into this. People who are interested in Japan, are interested in leadership, are interested in both. So I'd like to thank all my listeners around the world for sticking with me for such a long time. I have no intention of doing less. In fact, like some complete lunatic, now I'm doing 6 podcasts a week and 3 TV shows, which goes to show you I am completely off my rocker. But there you go. We do these things. I enjoy the podcasts. It's a challenge for me as a business person. I enjoy business. I enjoy leading. I enjoy selling. I enjoy presenting. I like the communication aspect of business. But I find I also need intellectual stimulation, you know. If you've ever done karaoke with me, you'll know I cannot sing. My wife and my son laugh at my attempts to draw anything. It just cracks them right up. So I'm not capable of writing or drawing. Right, I shouldn't say that. I write, but I mean in the sense of, you know, painting or drawing or music, I'm hopeless. But I enjoy the intellectual challenge of writing and having to write on subjects every week, different subjects. I enjoy the stimulation that gives me a sort of one sort of artistic outlet that I can enjoy. And my writing is always fairly short because I find that probably about 12, 13, 14 minutes is probably about the length that people want to listen to what I'm saying. Although with the interview series, Japan's Top Business Interviews, those are an hour. Yeah, I mean, there is an audience for people who want to go deep, and that's a particular podcast for that. Japan's Business Mastery Show is only about 7 or 8 minutes, so there's an audience for that shorter version. So, you know, I'm trying to do videos to suit people. I'm trying to do podcasts of different lengths to suit people. But I do enjoy the challenge of trying to come up with topics and write something unique, write something from my point of view, my style. I'm Australian, so we have a lot of idioms in Australian English. We're influenced by, obviously, English spelling. So if you read my stuff, it's always the classic English spelling. Sometimes I have trouble with idioms because things that are idioms in Australia are just specifically for that country. And so I try to not use too many of those because people can't understand them. But I do write from an Australian point of view rather than, say, an American point of view or an English point of view. I also try to write in a style which then becomes a narrated style that you could recognize. If you heard it or read it, you'd go, oh, yeah, that's Dr. Greg Story. Yeah, he's got that certain style that he narrates in or he writes in. And so I try to find something that is reflective of me and is a bit different, hopefully a bit differentiated, something that you wouldn't read somewhere else. Not very easy, I have to tell you, not very easy, but I try. I try to do that. So anyway, there we are, 7 years young. Hopefully we'll still be going another 7 years. So this is, as I say, episode 364, and we are talking about the Great Safe. Return to the Workplace Caper in Japan. Congratulations on escaping the COVID-19 virus by staying safe and working from home. We all want to see our businesses succeed, and we all want to stay healthy. If it is time now to go back to the workplace, understand that there will be members of the team who are concerned about their continued safety. As the boss, you have a responsibility to ensure a safe working environment for them, for the team. Here are some things for everyone to think about. 1, we all have to learn how to coexist with COVID-19. So why try and replicate the old work style? Avoiding crowded transport and elevators are smart ideas. Try working from home in the morning, go in a bit later to the office to avoid the crowds, and do the same thing by leaving earlier than normal. When you get back home, continue working. Yes, it may mean continuing to work after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., but this is the trade-off for coexisting with the virus. You will get the same amount of work done in a day spread out over more extended hours. We all need to be more flexible about developing a new work rhythm. Why not check your own temperature at home before you leave to be certain you are no risk to colleagues at the office? This takes about 2 minutes, so it is manageable, even for busy people. Avoid all surfaces when you're outside, like stair or escalator handrails, subway straps and posts, elevator and vending machine buttons, etc. Wear gloves outside. That makes a lot of sense, in addition to a face mask and maybe a face shield where appropriate. Directly touching others through handshakes, fist bumps, hands on the shoulder, pats on the back, high fives, etc. are obviously now out, so bowing will be a much better alternative. Number 2, we need to rethink how we work in the office. Does everyone really need to be there every day? Why not have teams permanently rotate? On certain days, some staff will go to the office while the others work from home, the so-called A team and B team interchange. Maybe Fridays is the day for everyone to work from home. Find out more when we come back from the break. Now, today's show is brought to you our public courses, but we also have custom in-house programs. We have these online, we have these in person in the classroom. We do them in Japanese, we do them in English. Today's show is sponsored by, on June 19th, our Goal Setting and Accountability 2-hour program. That's online. On the 23rd, we have our free How to Present Online show. That's 1 hour and 15 minutes. On the 26th, we have Adjust to Change. That is a 2-hour program online. Our website is full of useful resources, so go to enjapan.dalecarnegie.com. You can email me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. If you like learning by watching videos, we've got over 960 there for you. That's on Japan Dale Carnegie TV on YouTube. We release 3 TV shows every week on YouTube. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, that's a premier business show in Japan every Monday, Tokyo time. Fridays, we have the Japan Business Mastery Show. And now on Saturdays, we release Japan's top business interviews, where I interview leaders from SMEs all the way up to the corporate captains of industry on the topic of leading in Japan. Get my book, Japan Sales Mastery, the Bible for selling in Japan, and my other book, my other bestseller, Japan Business Mastery. Welcome back. Hold stand-up meetings at the office to make them shorter and allow proper social distancing rules to apply. Do we actually need to meet together in person? Could we be in the office at our desks and still meet online? Certainly have coffee breaks together to catch up on what has been happening in our lives, but always use social distancing. Everyone can have their own cup, so there is no need to share any crockery anymore. Masks and face shields are good ideas when we are gathered together, and by making it a common rule, no one feels weird or out of place. Clear plexiglass barriers between seats make sense. If reintroducing individual cubicles and offices makes more sense than open plan arrangements, then we are all going back to the future. Reduce the amount of paper which needs to be circulated by hand. What about handing over meishi? Is this now a thing of the past? Can we reconnect electronically? Anyone remember Bump? That's a discontinued app which electronically exchanges our business contact details on the spot at a networking event. There are several apps such as iCheck, CamGuard, PIQY, 8 and Shoot, which may get a new lease of life now. Anyway, let's make greater use of electronic document sharing and do all of our approvals online. 3, enforce best practice hygiene standards. We are continuously reminded to avoid touching our faces, eyes, nose, mouths, because this is how we absorb the virus. Easy to proclaim, but not so easy to do. Regularly washing our hands with soap throughout the day for 20 seconds, including the areas under the fingernails, between the fingers, and up to the wrist are best practice. Soap breaks apart the container that holds the virus, and then the virus is then washed away. Use a paper towel to dry our hands and turn the water faucet off with that paper towel as well. Also, we can use hand sanitizer. With your colleagues, allocate teams throughout the day to regularly clean doorknobs and surfaces like coffee pots, elevator buttons, tabletops, photocopiers, mobile phones, whiteboards, and marker pens. Bringing your own bento reduces your exposure to outsiders at lunchtime. You can still eat lunch with your colleagues, but at a safe distance. Let's all keep well and stay safe. Thank you for joining the Leadership Japan series. If you found the program useful, and tell your family, friends, and colleagues. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Share this podcast. You can contact me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. Lots of great stuff on our website. That's enjapan.dalecarnegie.com. Until the next episode, take what you thought valuable, put into action. Because idea application is what makes winners winners, so be one of them. Remember, I'm your corporate coaching and training guy here in Japan, ready to help your business survive.